Hello everybody, welcome back to Inspirational Landscapes. I'm Peter Knight, and today I want to say a little bit about the importance of actually doing the activities that are embedded within the module. So throughout the module, in the online resources that you've been looking at, there are lots of occasions where I say go and do this, go and try that, write down a list of this, think about this, and then come back and look at the next bit of video. So it's really important that you actually do go and make a map of your room, or you do make the list of encounters that you've had with the sublime, or that you do take time to think about what will be your theme music for the music of the earth, or whatever the question is, whatever the activity is that I've asked you to engage with. Now, the reason that this is important is because this module isn't about learning stuff just because it's on a list that the lecturer has made and you're going to be tested on it and you have to memorise the lecturer's examples, and if you don't like their particular examples that they're using, well then the module is ruined for you because you're studying all this boring stuff that Peter Knight likes. It's not that kind of a module. The idea behind this module, and the examples I give you, exciting or boring as you may consider them to be, is that you see these examples, you see ideas, and it puts new ideas into your mind, ideas of your own, and you think, I could do something like that, but with the example that I'm interested in. I'm not interested in that boring old film that he's talking about, or that boring old book that he's talking about. But it would be really interesting to think about that idea that he's mentioned in the context of this other book that I do like, or this other film that I do like. So one of the great things for me about this module is that you can't really criticise the examples I'm using, because they're not the important part of the course. The important part of the course is the examples that you then go away and find for yourself, or the examples of things that you're interested in, to which you apply the ideas that I've been illustrating with my examples. So it's really important in this module that you pick up ideas from the sessions and you run with them. And specifically, just now, I want to remind you about the experimental travel exercises that we talked about earlier in the module. Now, you remember, experimental travel, I presented it to you as a way of forcing yourself to see things in new ways and to explore through new eyes. You remember we were talking about Proust's idea of habit as being something that really affects the way we see the world. We tend to see what we expect to see, and we always see the same things. It's very difficult to break ourselves out of that way of always seeing the same old stuff and to see the world through new eyes, which is what Proust is talking about. So you'll remember that in the experimental travel book we were talking about using dice or playing cards or pre-arranged sequences of numbers, or turn left, turn right, turn left, turn right, to send you to new locations, or using some kind of role play to try to force you into seeing a situation through new eyes and behaving differently within a situation. So sometimes there might be instructions about specific things that you need to seek out, specific things that you need to go and look for, which are basically instructions, putting it into the context, the language that we've been using in our module. You can think of those as being instructions about the choices that you are now being told to make about what you're going to notice in the landscape around you. There's so much, there's too much, we maybe can't take it all in. So how are we going to force ourselves or trick ourselves into seeing things that we otherwise wouldn't see? And one trick that I play on myself when I'm exploring a new landscape, or if I just want to explore an old landscape but to see new things in it that I hadn't seen before, one trick that I play on myself, I call it the colour blue exercise. And it's important also, another way of thinking about this is, well, what are the components of the landscape? There's the sound, there's the smells, there's the colours. So if you want to, you can put this colour blue exercise under the heading of components of landscape colour, as well as under the experimental travel heading. So how does this work? How does a colour blue exercise work? Well, it's very straightforward. You go for a walk, or you just go into a room and you look for anything which is blue in colour. And that sounds very straightforward, but I went for a walk with the dog in the countryside yesterday, and it took quite a long time before I started seeing anything blue. There isn't a lot of blue in the countryside at this time of year. So you go into a room, or you go for a walk in the countryside, or go for a walk through town, doesn't matter, just explore some location and look for anything blue. And write it down, make a note of it, or photograph it, or plot it on your map, say what you've found. And you'll discover, and I discover this every time I do it, especially if I go to a location that I think I know already and I go back and do it again, but with doing the colour blue exercise. You look harder and you find yourself seeing things, and not just blue things, but you find yourself seeing things that you otherwise wouldn't do, because you're looking in new corners, you're looking up, you're looking down, you're looking at new scales, you're looking for tiny things, or you suddenly realise, well, the whole sky is blue, I hadn't got that on my list. And so you're thinking at different scales, you're looking in different directions, you're looking at new corners, and you tend to recognise whole new geographies. And I was thinking yesterday that this would be a great inspirational landscapes project. Urban and rural geographies of blue. Because I was thinking most of the blue things I encountered, certainly at this time of year, there was a blue tit and there were some grape hyacinths, but other than that, there was nothing in the sky. But other than that, there was nothing natural that I was seeing that was blue. But there was loads of litter and water pipes and rubbish skips and tractors and human-created things that were blue. And it occurred to me how different doing the exercise where I am now in the countryside was so different from doing exactly the same exercise previously in a built-up urban environment, where there's a very different range of things of the colour. So suddenly these whole new ideas about differences between urban and rural, different differences between geographies of different locations, just based on me going around saying, oh, is there anything blue for me to photograph? And it's a really interesting exercise because you see so much more if you can prompt your mind or motivate your mind to notice those things at those different scales. And that's what these exercises or these activities that I keep inserting into the sessions, that's what they're all about, that's what they're for. And that's why it's important that you actually do those exercises, please.